and I'm at a church plant in Houston, Texas, Family Life Bible Church. Father of 9, faithful husband of 24 years. And I believe that that is a gift from God. So, you know, my experience with God, I'm so grateful and thankful that God has given me the grace to love my wife and be faithful to her, and to be a light on a hill in the midst of so much, you know, roadkill when it comes to marriage. And I don't want to be long-winded, but I'll just share. My wife and I were on the phone yesterday, and we got word that one of our close married couple friends were separating after 37 years of marriage. And the husband had been located somewhere. They've been separated vocationally. He had to be separate to work. And it turns out during the 3 years he was separated, he was unfaithful.
Wow.
And so my testimony is I thank God for the grace, because I can tell my wife, look, baby, I haven't kissed another woman since I've been with you. I haven't hugged another woman. I haven't touched another woman. I haven't propositioned another woman. I haven't laid, and another woman hadn't done it to me. So you can trust me, and it's just by the grace of God, you know, that. And so it is perilous times for the family and for marriage, and you know, that was just on my heart. So I want to encourage you, be faithful to your wife, love your wife. Whoa, we got hot already. Yes, sir. Let's start with you on the left.
Yeah, I am Isaac, your boy from Reverend, the overseer of Going Great Ministries in Ghana. Married, and with 3 children. My last one is 18.
Oh, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
I'm 20 years myself. 10 to 15 July. With my experience with God, in fact, I wouldn't say God is not good. He has so much good. Looking at my background, and I came from a family whereby no education. You know, you couldn't lift up your head. But when I accepted Christ as my personal Savior years ago,
yes, sir,
I have seen the goodness of God.
Yeah.
I was the first boy to have a wedding in the family.
Amen.
Yeah. And we both were so imperfect, myself and my wife. But by the grace of God, we were able to stay all this while and still living together. My wife is a pastor also.
Okay.
And we've been able to adjust and to help each other to grow in the Lord and also shape our character. One thing I believe so much, as I was talking, I was looking at the scripture, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse number 16. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction, and in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work. In other words, it takes the word of God to change our character. So we both came to this knowledge, and as a matter of fact, we've been able to help each other. And because time that we were about to marry, people never believed us. We made it. My in-laws were refusing me because I was poor, and they knew that nothing good was going to come out of me. But my wife saw something in me, the Lord Jesus, who will help us. And since we gave ourselves together into the Word of God, we've been pruned together, and we love each other so much. In fact, we've never regretted marrying to each other.
Wow. Amen.
Our kids, by the grace of God, are also being pruned. My father never enjoyed the kind of home I am enjoying today.
Wow.
And the kind of life I am enjoying today.
Wow.
So thank God, though he wasn't able to leave such legacy saw that in us, but by the grace of God, God has done it.
Yeah.
I always thank God for the man who preached Christ to me.
Amen. Amen. Yes, sir.
Thanks so much that I am here today with you. In fact, if I would have been told, I wouldn't have known. But thank God I've seen it myself. Sometimes, if you only eat the soup of your mother, you might think it's only your mother who knows how to cook. Until you go somewhere to eat someone's food. So thank God for all that I'm eating.
Amen. Amen.
God bless you. And hope to know each other more.
Amen. Yes, sir. So I want to apologize. I used more than one sentence. You don't have. You could use a sentence, but try to keep it truncated. You don't have to. It's hard when you start talking about God, and I am tapping well, but I want us to make sure, this is introduction, I want to make sure that we get to know each other. So we want to make that time effective.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I am Joseph Isaac Sako from Sierra Leone. I'm from Jesus Triumphant Ministry. I'm married, father of one.
Amen.
I just thank God for the goodness of God in my life.
Yes, sir.
I came from a Muslim background. I thank God because I'm the only one that's saved. I appreciate God because what they see in me, now I've tried to bring up the children,
Yes, sir.
So they are with me in free time. So I just thank God because God has so good to me.
Yes, sir. Amen.
Yes. And I also appreciate my Bishop Raymond Wendell Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I'm with him and he trained me up and he showed me the way God operates. So I just thank God because I know God knows the best.
Yes, sir.
For everything, and this is my first time of traveling to the U.S. and I'm happy to be here.
Amen. Welcome. Welcome, sir. Your Grace.
I'm going to speak in a few moments, so I'm Archbishop Russ McClanahan with the Patriarch Evangelical Episcopal Communion. Wonderful to be here, and I'll thank you. My name is Jim Bobble. It's an honor to be with you all. I live in Tallahassee, as does Bishop McClanahan, Archbishop. And I'm a member of the Anglican Church, and my passion is spiritual formation, especially prayer, helping people develop a life of consistent, regular, deep conversational prayer with God. My wife and I will have been married 50 years this coming February 28th.
Amen.
We're looking forward to that. I was only 2 when we got married. It's a real honor to be with you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Theodonis Morales. I'm the pastor of the Jesus of the Lord Missionary Church to meet here in this church. I'm very happy and blessed to be here, to meet you, a new family.
Amen.
And we are thinking and praying to the Lord to be part of this organization.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
My name is Pedro Fernandez. I'm from Havana, Cuba. We do a wonderful work for our ministry is Common Good Ministry. We live in Smithfield, Texas. We do a lot of wonderful work
Courtney, and I'm Petra's wife. And like he said, we have Common Good Ministry. This is our church home. We love our pastor, and he's taught us well, and we continue to pray that God's hand will be over us, and we'll continue to make our Papa in heaven happy. That's proud of us. And so that's just where we are. We're glad to be here with our brothers and sisters.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Oh, Rich, you want to do the quick intro?
Quick one. Richard Lance. I serve here at Greater Calvary Bible Church as associate pastor, as a bishop in the Family Life International Fellowship. And I just love God because he's God, and I know that he's able. I know he forgives. I know he's just an awesome, wonderful, magnificent, glorious God. And there's just not enough time in our days to talk about his wonderfulness.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I am Bishop Ruth Allison from Houston, Texas, and I pastor the Beulah Land Community Church in 3rd Ward, Houston.
Yes.
And it is amazing.
Amen.
I am deeply, deeply, deeply in love with my husband. Next month will be 38 years.
Amen.
And we have a son who is our his minister of music, and he and his wife have delivered to us a 17-month-old granddaughter, so I'm extremely passionate about that. Praise the Lord, and our relationship. Here's what the Lord and I are doing now. It's very exciting to me. And I love the Word. I love prayer. And I love the Word. And I love praying the Word. So I get excited when the Lord is, gives me some like, oh. So here's what my current thing is. That God loves us so much, and I'll just pick up on what we learned last night, truncating it. But I've just been imagining, because to meditate, I just been imagining that I'm Eve.
Come on now.
And I'm Eve who turned to the Lord. And I have no conversation with the enemy whatsoever. I don't sing about them, I don't talk about them, I don't think about them. I'm just like with the Lord. So now, what does that look like? Yeah. And the other thing is, you get this,
Come on.
is that Eve was born, no. Eve came out fully grown. No past.
I see.
And so I just took a big old saw, and I saw everything.
Yeah.
Before that revelation.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So everything is
Right.
and I'm looking forward.
Right. Amen.
And so now people can say to me, you remember this? Nope. And no one shared.
Right.
And so it's just been phenomenal, just release.
Right.
I just a fun way to live. So that's what's going on in my head. If you see me with a silly grin on, that's what I'm doing.
Amen. Amen.
Can we come on up and
Yes.
introduce ourselves?
Let me do one thing. Okay. So in your program, you'll find the schedule for the rest of the day. We have 3 major sessions. We will start with Bishop Alfred T. Lance and his lovely wife, Bishop Rosemary Lance. We will follow that with Archbishop Dr. Russell McCallahan. We'll have lunch, and then we'll begin the afternoon session with Archbishop Dr. Sterling Lance II. So that is the plan for the day. I'm sure you will get more information on the fellowship event and bring you up, let's just make sure your stuff is ready to go.
Yes, sir.
It's got a little sign, I'm not sure if that's a good. So can we, I don't know, red?
Red.
Yeah, understood. Amen. So we're going to do that. That is our program review. Thank you guys for sharing your information and insights in the introduction into who you are and what gets you excited about your relationship with the Lord. I would direct your attention to some housekeeping things. On page 10, you'll find a list of the retreat host team. You have Bishop Humans, Bishop Christopher Lands, and Bishop Richard Lands. They're around. If you run into anything that you need in terms of special requests, you can find any of those gentlemen here, and they will be ready to assist you with that. And then any other announcements before we kick it off? Yes. Very good.
These are our t-shirts, our commemorative t-shirts for this event. You can see the logo that we have for Generational Fathers. There's a father anointing his son, who's anointing his son, and it just continues. So these t-shirts are only $15. So please get you one so you can remember this event. Please see maybe Bishop Richard. I think if you want to get one, so they're $15, so please be sure you get one before you leave.
Amen. So there is the list of items that we covered. Again, I want to welcome you to our Bishop's Retreat today on behalf of the whole support team and our Bishop, Dr. Sterling Lance II. Welcome you. Austin is a wonderful city, and this is the crown jewel of Austin, in case you didn't know. Amen. So you're welcome here. You're welcome to Austin. Welcome to Texas. And I pray that you will enjoy yourself while you're here. You should have, so this program is a resource to you. You also have the booklets. I believe that there are notes posted online on the Google website. So you should have an email if you need access to those notes. If you're concerned there, you should be able to capture everything that you need. We're going to begin with this next section here shortly on racism and its effects on the family. We'll follow with the vetting, elevation, and succession of the bishop in the 21st century. And then the mission and practice and expectations of the bishop in the 21st century. Amen.
Could I do a short review of what we know?
Yes, you know
Yes,
that.
that would be great.
That is actually appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just do it from here. Okay, we begin with Archbishop Thomas Henry. He brought out that very animated, very wonderful. And he brought out that we should be preaching to the intellect and the emotions, not just to the emotions. And that too much preaching can be done to the emotions. We take the gender part out of it. And see. Remember he talked about the prodigal son, and he looked at the prodigal son as a risk taker, and the eldest son as one who did take risks.
So thank you, Dr. Amen. We're now ready for our session on racism and its effects Auntie Lance and Bishop Rosemary Lance. Let's give them a hand praise as they come.
Good morning.
Morning.
I know everybody's doing great. Based on all those great testimonies, everybody's doing great. And we're so blessed. We do want to be praying. Before we left, we saw the news where somebody went to the club.
Yes.
It's some families grieving this morning.
Yes.
You know, just awful. Just killed 12 people. I don't think they had identified it, but it was a club for college-age students, and you know, in California this morning that 12 people are killed, as well as the shooter. So we just want to be praying, keep those families in prayer, because it could have very well have been us. So, all right, I'm Bishop Rosemary Lance. I'm the bride of this awesome black bishop. That's what I call him, after 36 years or so. So I'm glad to be married to a man of integrity.
Amen.
I echo what you said, Bishop Wright. Amen. I don't worry about this man, and he doesn't worry about me, and that's simply because we both are sold out to Jesus. So I tell our women that's the only way you can trust your man. You got to trust God. So when that's in place, you can go to sleep at night. But we're glad to be here. We have 2 daughters. We have, a host of grandkids. 2 by our daughters and a host from the other married people in our ministry. So I'm just grandma, and I love it.
Amen. Amen.
And we're going to talk about racism in America and its effect on the family. This is a subject that we cannot bury our head in the sand about. Amen. Especially as bishops and pastors and preachers.
All right.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, we want to, this is a needed discussion. These discussions ought to take place everywhere, especially in the local church, because none of this will ever get better until the church get honest. The church is dishonest. So for us to expect the issue of racism to go away is crazy. It's not going nowhere. The only way it's going to go is going to have to happen through the power of an almighty God. And that will have to take place through vessels that are part of the body of Christ. So, as you do this presentation, start thinking about ways that you could possibly make impact, just in your own local environment, community, or what have you. This is racism in America. It's been here, but it don't necessarily have to stay here.
Amen.
Just because something's been somewhere doesn't mean that it has to remain. Y'all remember this?
Yes.
This position.
Yes.
And it looked like the enemy is trying to turn the hands back in 2018 and beyond. But I know the end at the beginning, and it's not going to happen.
Amen.
The 2 people are dead and a number is in custody after a shooting at a Kroger grocery need to run for president. But wait, I'm in the wrong, right? By bringing these issues to your attention, I'm the one who's fueling this divide. Because if we just ignore acts of racist violence and pretend they're not going on, they'll go away, right? It took the mainstream media 3 days before bringing this incident to light. A man massacred 2 people in a grocery store, and still takes 3 days before major news outlets even run a story. And of course, even when the story began to receive coverage elsewhere, Fox News could be counted on to avoid it completely by focusing their attention on refugees 1,000 miles from the U.S. border on foot.
Obviously, there's so much attention being played to the border right now.
Or on ways to pretend that the truck full with Trump stickers and the MAGA bomber has nothing really to do with Trump. This is a representation of the failures of our news site. This should be front page news on every single media outlet across America. The reason people are so oblivious to the hatred that's brewing in this country is because it's not given the same priority. Not only is that dangerous, but it also plays into Trump's goal of manipulating the media. For instance, did you know last month 2 black police officers were killed after confronting a white man armed to the teeth? Chances are you didn't know about this incident because conservative media ignored it, and because it doesn't play into the war on cops narrative they like to pin on black people. Meanwhile, the more mainstream, moderate outlets didn't cover it because, hey, they can't put Trump in the headline. This is why independent media is so important in this day and age. To pull back the curtain on what's really happening amidst this hyper-political, polarizing climate. These are the issues that we need to hear about so that we can confront them head on. For more on this, come over to my Instagram at Francis M. Maxwell. If you agree or disagree, I don't know how you disagree, but come over and chat with me about this. You can become a CYT member at CYTnetwork.com/Francis. Check out more.
Okay, racism is real, hate is real, and the bottom line is that it kills. The other thing we need to be concerned with, God will never accept that. So as being the body of Christ, people of faith, we work a lot, we put a lot of time in on a lot of other things, and less time on trying to stamp out hate. And I think the church needs to kind of shift a little bit and start dealing with the hate issue, which will take care of a lot of other stuff that we encounter. The history. The definition of is what?
Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race, based on the belief that one's own race is superior. So racist is the person who believes that a particular race is superior to another.
You know why we got to get caught up on superiority? Why, since we all we took advantage of what God breathed, why we got to get caught up? And I know the traditional responses, but the reality is when we bleed, we all bleed red. And so, regardless of what side of the line people tend to be on, in the sight of God, we just see one people. To start,
Africans were kidnapped as slaves to English colonies in North America. You see the date, 1619. In the 1600s to early 1800s, these abolitionists helped slaves escape to the north through secret routes. Then Africans were available in large numbers at prices that made plantation, agricultural in America was profitable. Boom in slavery. Then a federal fugitive slave law was enacted ordaining the return of slaves who had escaped and crossed state lines. Then as time went on, more and more people joined in the fight to end slavery. Not all blacks in America were slaves. Free blacks lived and worked in big American cities, but they had very few rights.
so the bottom line is, we know why lines were drawn. It was about money. At the end of the day, it had to do with money.
Yes. Yes.
All right. We look at present day America. operated in an exemplary fashion in this country. But that's what we expect from our leaders. That's what we expect. A leader of the free country to operate on the highest level of integrity. We don't have that now. I don't care what side you're on. We do not have that now. Church ought to be pissed off, but it's not. We acting like everything is okay. Like he's going to get better. He's going to do something different. He's not going to do anything different. He needs to be saved first. But nobody's talking about that. Now, just so you know, I'm speaking from a background whereby I can speak. I'm part of the Southern Baptist Convention and been in part of it for 15 years. Not only being a part of it, but I'm one of their officers. I rank in their local association as one of their moderators, and I've been doing it for years. And so my complaint or my response is from having a relationship with my white brothers and sisters. And so what I'm saying and what we're showing you today, I know from personal experience, and my conflict is that they are not listening. They're not listening. They're willing to surrender integrity and authenticity and great character and morals for something else. And I got issue with that. Because I know that this thing is not getting ready to get better until they begin to think differently. And so, as we go through this presentation, don't think within the framework. Start thinking outside of the framework and try to see what God wants done. Don't get too deep. God is using this man to bring the country to it. God don't need no help from us. So, you know, we don't need to be trying to think like that. We need to deal with the present circumstance. And if it was his desire to use a man to do that, he'll do that. But he don't need our help. We don't need to, and that seemed to be some of our thinking. We want to act like we helping God in supporting somebody who don't represent God. Okay? So I'm challenging you to think beyond that. Demographics. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Racism appears to be the most reported discrimination over things like sexism, sexual orientation discrimination, and many others. A poll that was done by the Episcopal Church found that nearly 98% of people report being discriminated against at some point in their life. People who thought race relations was bad in 2009 were 21% white and 24% black. That was in 2009. And in 2016, 67% white thought race relations were bad, and 74% of blacks believe race relations are bad. Unemployment, we see that, of course, the highest for blacks and Hispanics and whites.
time in prison at some point in their lives. 1 in every 13 black men ages 30 to 34 was in prison in 2011, versus 1 in 90 white men at the same age. Why? For one, black people are 3 times as likely to be searched than whites during traffic stops, twice as likely to be arrested. And this starts young. Of the population under 18, African Americans make up 17% of the total, 30% of those arrested, and 62% of those tried in adult criminal courts. Being tried as adults leads to longer and more severe sentences. Another reason for the racial disparity of our criminal justice system is the war on drugs. Despite studies that show black and white people use and deal drugs at equal levels, black people make up 37% of the people arrested for drug offenses. Once they get out of prison, black people are 3 times more likely to be disenfranchised than white people. White men with recent criminal records are far more likely to receive callbacks for job interviews than black men with no criminal record at all. In this way, we already treat black people like felons. On top of that, black people are twice as likely as white people to be unemployed. This was true in 1954 and it's true now. This has led to one of America's most shameful facts. The wealth of white families is 13 times more than black families. A contributing factor is that white people are almost twice as likely to own a home, one of the country's best paths to building wealth. The gap in home ownership between black and white people is the same now as it was in 1900. For those who are homeowners, black families live in neighborhoods where the median income is $10,000 lower than a similar income white family neighborhood, which means local schools and public services are worse. This is a modern continuation of ghettoization, which started in the mid-20th century. Suburbanization and white flight began, in part, as a response to the disappearance of Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws were a way to prevent black people from fully joining society after the abolition of slavery. Nowadays, we just toss 1 of every 3 black men in jail.
That bill is dead, or you're going to get 33 votes. I'm sick and tired of white people setting the standard for our children. Benson High School, the little racists and white adults decide to put out a paper dealing with the N-word. White adults, white children are the ones on the paper and decided to do this. And they come up with the conclusion that you put A on the end of the word instead of ER, it's a term of endearment. These white people are talking about this word that is the most degrading, insulting word that can be used for us. The World Herald praised them. White people praise them. They say these white students have courage. If I use profanity, you hear me use it on the floor this morning. But I'm not like white people. I won't do that. But they're going to get some of these white kids hurt. You use that word with an A or an ER, and I would tell any black child, bust them in the mouth. Knock his teeth out. Teach him what these white people will not teach them. You're going to have these white people in a school predominantly black, with predominantly white teachers, teaching these white children that it's all right to use that word, that it can be cleaned up. You clean up manure by spraying perfume on it, and then I'll tell you to clean up these words. That's what white people do, then they want
A lot of people are afraid of that because they don't really understand what that is simple though. But they don't really understand, so they shy away from and try to distort the original intent for the movement.
Black Lives Matter was created in 2012 after Trayvon Martin's murderer, George Zimmerman, was acquitted for his crime, and dead 17-year-old Trayvon was posthumously placed on trial for his own murder. Rooted in the experience of black people in this country who actively resist our dehumanization, hashtag Black Lives Matter is a call to action and response to the virulent anti-black racism that permeates our society. Black Lives Matter is a unique contribution that goes beyond extrajudicial killings of black people by police and vigilantes. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're broadening the conversation around state violence to include all the ways in which black people are intentionally left powerless at the hands of the state. We're talking about the ways in which black lives are deprived of our basic human rights and dignity. Black Lives Matter is working for a world where black lives are no longer systematically and intentionally targeted for demise. We're affirming our contributions to this society, our humanity, and our resilience in the face of deadly oppressions. We'll put our sweat, equity, and love for black people into creating a political project, taking the hashtag off of social media and into the streets. The call for Black Lives Matters rather than call for all black lives striving for liberation.
I have her on tape calling me racist comments, calling me a nigger in front of her kids.
Scared my children.
Well, there's cameras out here, and we'll see. Because we'll definitely be filing charges. Please call the cops.
Thank you.
Please. Got everything on tape. Your voice too. Calling me a nigger. If that's how you feel. You might as well take care of your kids. Don't worry about me.
I know where my kids are.
Okay, good.
Don't talk. I'm taking your father down there.
Please do. It's okay, buddy. Oh, that's good. Racism alive and well. Amazing.
Sure is. Disgusting what black people got to do.
Really? You call me a nigger and I'm just supposed to sit back, huh?
Scared the shit out of my kids.
You call me a nigger, I'm just supposed to sit back.
You're scared the shit out of my kids.
By starting my car. By starting my car. Amazing. Wow, you got your kids cursing at me too, huh? Wow, this is amazing. Okay.
Talk to this fucking nigga
You're not-
right now. I am telling you, he's been video recording me. He scared the shit out of me. Anthony started car trying to run his mouth, talking about me being a fat mother. Fucking say
Really?
something.
I said that.
It's got me on videotape, but I'm still flipping the fuck out.
You called me a nigger. Go ahead.
I called you a nigger.
That's the hate that's in this culture. And you don't have to go far to experience that. As African Americans in this country, you can walk out of your door and run into an experience like that. How many of y'all familiar with the dog test? The dog test. This is crazy when you think about it, but it's real.
Quale bambola è bianca?
This is how effective it is, how deep it runs.
Quale bambola è nera? Quale delle due è bella?
Questa.
Qual è quella bella? Qual è quella brutta? E qual è quella buona? Quale è cattiva? Qual è buona? Perché è buona?
Perché ha gli occhi celesti.
Quale è cattiva? Perché è cattiva?
Perché è tutto nero.
E qual è la bambola che ti somiglia di più? Quale bambola è nera?
È offeso. Tu. Perché mi hai chiamato nero? Ti hai offeso perché altre bambine mi hanno preso con cattiveria.
Io non ho usato le parole.
Quello sto mi sta guardando storto.
So this stuff runs so deep. I conclude the only hope is the church. But if the church don't have it right, no hope. No hope. What you can do? You can donate to stuff. You can raise awareness in your community. But we got to end this meeting. Let's chat about this for a minute. And now we know, and we've been knowing for a good while, that there is a serious issue in this country. I am totally convinced that if we're going to make any progress, it's going to have to happen with the church. The progress that we made before was led by the church. And I believe if we're going to stop this racist rage that's being propagated from the highest office in this country, it's going to have to happen with the church. The sad commentary is this: 64% and George Bush and his family are known as being evangelicals. 80% of white evangelicals voted for Donald Trump for president. And he is known as being nothing. He don't even believe in Jesus. So you see, the problem is on the body of Christ level. Until we can begin to get our brethrens and our sisters to come together in the right way, we're going to continue to have great challenges in this country. I mean, why would 80% of evangelicals vote for Trump? Now, we ain't going to play that platform foolishness, because that ain't it. Are y'all hearing me? We're going to get caught up right there. I think we need to spend our time dealing with the real stuff, and to talk about the Republican platform and the Democratic platform, and the Republicans believe in this and I believe in that too. I believe in a lot of stuff that's on the Republican platform. I don't believe in a lot of stuff that's on the Democratic platform. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So we don't need to get caught up right there. No, there's another reason. And that's what we need to look at. We need to look at what the real reason is to have such a divide in the body of Christ. Now, back home, I challenge the Southern Baptist folk. I challenge them to try to do something different, to think different. And I don't allow them to try to hide between the cracks of platforms. I don't believe in abortion. Well, hell, I don't either. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? So we ain't gonna play that game. We need to look at, as we spelled out in the presentation, that there's some serious stuff. And it's going to take grassroots efforts like this to begin to at least identify the issue and come up with some things that we think can help us tackle the issue so that all of humanity can have a better quality of life. We ought not want a leader in this country that's a leader for one set of people. That don't even make good sense. But when there's some hard issues, like I said in my earlier presentation, this is how it's going to come out. I just read a stat the other day, 65% of evangelicals said they believe Trump is doing a great job. This stuff saddens me, man. This stuff saddens me. You know the man is not doing a great job. And what do you consider a great job? And why is it a great job to you? These are the kind of questions that I ponder. And we all should be pondering. And above all, man, let's stop just being quiet and act like it's automatically going to get better because you praying a prayer at night. No, faith without works ain't nothing going to happen. And so I applaud Archbishop for integrating this kind of ideal in a setting like this. And I think we need to take advantage of the moment. So what we want to do for a few minutes, we want to share some ideas of what we can do. See, it starts here. What do you think we can do in order to start making progress to kill this low-down, nasty, dirty spirit called racism? What can we do? We got a mixture in this room. And so it's good that we can have the discussion. So we're going to jot down some stuff. You just kind of throw out what you think, and we're going to jot those things down, and we'll see what the Lord says about it. Okay? Anybody want to share? What do you think you can do or we can do as a fellowship, as a single church, as a leader in the community, as whatever, as a bishop?
focus on to start making things better. Because at the end of the day, I've heard folks talking about race riot and all that. That's crazy. I'm going to tell you why it's crazy. Somebody has a misconception. There's a group that they got all the guns because they got gun rights. We know what that's all about, stockpiling, weaponry, and all that, because we're going to have a race war. Well, what they fail to understand, the folk that they're going to fight against, they weren't trained by Martin Luther King Jr. And they don't mind dying. They die in our communities every day. They don't mind. They'll die. So they're not challenged by stuff like that. And you start talking that crazy talk, they're already thinking, okay, so this is what we got to do? Fine. We don't need that. So what can we do to make sure we don't go in that direction? What can we do? Mr. Rich?
From yesterday's discussion, an illustration was done by Bishop Gayton about his neighbors, and the point being how to handle certain things that go against our biblical beliefs. And I think the public or those in the church don't know how to address those. If something, if it's homosexuality, okay, that's wrong, but how do I handle that? Am I supposed to be so against it that I put you out and I put everybody out and I just cut you off? Or am I supposed to be so accepting? And I think what the church has to do is teach or inform the congregation that you can love, you can treat in the way you can handle this without accepting the wrong that is done. Because there's these extremes that we have. You either all out or I'm all in. But if we don't know how to handle that, then we have a lot of people that miss out, because there are folk that won't get to hear about Christ. There are folk that won't get to hear about the love of God, because we just shut them off because it's just wrong. I mean, that's wrong, so I got to shut you off. I can't do anything with that. I understand the separateness, but I also have to go out into the world where that's where the hurt is, and I have to be able to tell and share, and I have to know how to do that. I know how to do that without accepting what you're doing, and you knowing that, to be upfront with you, to let you know, this is the wrong thing, but this does not, because if God can accept me, if he can accept me for what I've done, for who I am, and your sin is sin, just like my sin is sin, then I should be able to do that and share that. So I think just informing people how to address some of these ills that are going, because there's no conversation. You just either got to die because I don't agree with you, or I just go back into my place and just deal with my people.
Yeah. Well, when you think about the church, one of the biggest tenets for the church is evangelism. Will you agree?
Yes.
Y'all agree?
Yes.
You're always learning about how to reach the lost. And there's so much lostness around us. I know in Georgia, 90% of the folks are either unchurched and unsaved. 90%. So lostness is all around us. But my problem is, if I go and get them and bring them into church, am I leading them the right way? Since 80% of the folks is hearing a hater in the White House. You see? So, on the church level, I think, it's my personal view, I think there's some serious issues as it relates to racism. Now, let's take the cover off of racism. Racism is just hate. So, in the church, there's a serious issue as it relates to hate. We don't know that woman who was cussing at the brother in his vehicle. She could be in somebody's church. So what is she getting? Let's just play with that. What is she getting in her church school and from her leadership, and what is she getting training her children to be like that. So just getting them and bringing them into the church, to me, that's not a resolution. So again, as we think about this, because the church needs to think about this, and we need to engage this situation in this culture. We don't need to just let the 11 o'clock hour remain the most segregated. We need to be, what do we need to do? I'm just trying to get you to think and give some ideas of what we do, Bishop and then Pastor.
Well, I think, I'm glad you said something about the 11 o'clock hour, because what I'm noticing is that when people who are, I'm just going to say not white, get to a certain place economically, they are welcome in white churches.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, there's been a move among people to say, what do I need to do to get black people in my church? And there's a whole plan of change the music and, you know, do this and invite them in. You look at television, you can see shots of black folks almost strategically done when many of the white folks are rich. Now that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And folks like me, us, we're reaching out to the lost, and we get them to a certain point, because they wouldn't qualify. People
Wouldn't qualify.
They don't. You're not going. You are. I'm sorry. You ain't going to make in your condition. I go out. I give. We clean them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they get a revelation that I need to be somewhere else. So one thing that could happen is I think a discussion among pastors and ministers to say, you know what, we really need our people in our community without you recruiting the people that we just got cleaned up. And so it's okay with me for some of that segregation, because I'm just getting them cleaned up and we need them in the community. I don't need to be starting over every time. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
And then what happens, the other thing that happens is, they go to the big churches, but they don't get ministry. They get to be in the big group, they get to concert, they get all of that, and then when they need to talk to somebody, or they need ministry, they want to come back to me.
That's right.
And take up 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, can I call you? And I used to do, I don't do it anymore. I said, no, you got to go talk to Joe. I love it. I mean, I know,
right.
Trust me.
Right. You got no issue with that.
You got to go to your pastor. Because this is my little crew right here.
Yeah.
And I got to be available to them. So I think we need to have this discussion, that kind of discussion about what, honestly, I just want to do like this. What are y'all doing? Yeah. What are y'all doing? If you're going to recruit somebody, go get the people from where we come. Yeah. So I just think that that's just another, in terms of race, that's just another issue that we need to do. I'll tell you a quick story. I was downtown. Actually, I was on a date with the Lord, going for a walk, in Discovery Green. White woman parked in front of me. She put her money in the parking meter, and I was right behind her. She didn't take the ticket out of her, and then she went into a very busy restaurant with her daughter. Okay, she didn't take the ticket out and put it on her car. So she was going to get the ticket for the park. She paid for it, but she didn't put it on her car. So when I got my ticket, I saw where she went. I followed her into the restaurant to give her her ticket, to say, you need to put this on your car. When I walked up to her, she got a glass of wine, her little girl, across here, and they're getting ready to order. And I said, excuse me. I asked the waiter, where is she? I said, excuse me. She looked up to me and said,
Wow.
We don't want any.
I don't want it.
We don't want any. We don't want any. And I was shocked. I said, this belongs to you. You didn't put this on your car. And if you don't put this on your car, you better put it in.
Wonderful.
And I just turned out and looked. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know.
It's okay.
We're done.
That's because of the culture we're in. Pastor, and then two hands here.
Well, if Pastor MacArthur says there needs to be a separation between church and social justice, and 8,000 pastors signing that certificate or proclamation, then that lets us know that the problem is embedded inside of the church. So when you talk about what happens on Sunday morning, the issue starts with community outreach, where our church is pointed at. It's very diverse. However, salvation, education for the purpose, salvation, education, liberation. So if we start with the salvation aspect of it, and then when they come in our church, we educate them through the word. And when we're preaching, I don't think we, just as a minority, have the luxury of separating social justice from our service, from our pulpit, or from our preaching, because that's what they're dealing with. See, a lot of times they're dealing with, our culture is dealing with the strongholds that are attached to the social justice issues. So they may be blinded to where they don't understand that, but those are the issues. So if we can go back and think about Christ, Christ was into social justice. When he did the miracles, and he did the miracle on the Sabbath, that was an issue. That was a social justice issue. So, you know, I think one of the issues, we may not solve the problem, but we'll get the ball rolling, is community engagement. And when we get them in our church, and they're saved, then our message doesn't have to be geared towards anything besides liberation and freedom. When I went and voted in San Marcos, I saw blacks and Hispanics turn out, numerous. So that means that there is a change that's coming. And I think the church just has to remain the pillar and not change. For instance, I deal with that also. People come into the church, they get saved, they get cleaned up, and then, you know what? Then they got to go to the other church because they're looking for that level of acceptance. They're looking for some type of need. And you're right, when they get out, when they get into those other churches, they're not necessarily being fed. And I'm not dealing with, you know, doctrine. I'm dealing more with their needs. They get lost. You get lost in the system. You get lost. And when you have a problem, you have an issue, you call Pastor Wallace. And so I think the issue is that we need to be able to do community outreach, support different people who are running for different offices that support our agenda. And then also, when they're in our church, make sure that we're preaching a liberating message that is biblically based.
Wonderful. You said several things, and my mind is turning. One is, I respect John MacArthur, but I don't necessarily agree with his position. Yeah. Right. And so, because, absolutely. And if you think about all of our advances, period, they've all come through the church. And because we talk about, I think when you talk about everything, you're authentic. MacArthur, he don't want to talk about those things because those become very challenging for him. And so he want to influence a whole lot of other people in his position that are faced with the same challenges. Let's not talk about this in the church, but I think it's the one place you ought to talk about the ills in the culture and in society is the church. The other thing that you said and Bishop said, and I was just thinking about it, I think, it's just my thoughts, I think when you clean folks up, I think that's your job to do that. And what happens after that should be okay. Somebody got to get them cleaned up in order for them to even begin to think rationally and rightly. And so God has a system. Every church is not on every level. Every church is not going to embrace everybody. So if he's using you as a conduit to get them from the gutter to a place where they now can be rational in their thinking and able to receive something, I think that's a good thing. In our church, when people come in our church, we give them everything we got. Then we let the chip fall where they may. Jasper Williams said something one time that blessed me. It's so simple, you're going to miss it. He said, the wonderfulness about the church is that people are always going, but they're always coming. That's the way the church works. So I don't follow somebody that leaves and go. If I know they're in another ministry, I do what Pastor Olison does. I tell them to go to your own pastor with no nothing. I mean, it's just the right thing to do. I don't want to be pastoring somebody else's folk. I got enough to do as it is. So yeah, you were here once, and I'm going to give you counsel. The counsel is go to your pastor. I think that's great. I done my part. You know, I got you where you stopped acting crazy at a moment notice. Now you somewhere else. Go to that person and let them continue to work in you. And I think that's, to me, that seems to be the right position. I'm just grateful that the Lord used me to snatch you out of the mess you were in. So I get a check for that. But you decided to go somewhere else because you weren't completely fixed and you didn't recognize that you ought to be trying to give something back. You know, that's just immaturity on your part. I didn't get a chance to disciple you. You wouldn't let me do that. So hopefully where you are now, you'll get discipled and begin to live totally different. Right here.
So we as a church, we're supposed to be a unified people. But then you have communities that, in some communities they are diverse, right? But you have the black church, and you have the white church, or you have the Hispanic church. So the church is the problem itself because they do separate everybody. We all should just be one. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And so that's our problem there, because when we go to the street, do we evangelize to everybody, or do we make our own assumptions because they're white? They don't need to be saved. I ain't got time for them because they already messed up. You know, I can't fix that. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're saying.
And so our communication, our way of thinking has to be different. As pastors, as ministers in positions of power, you have a platform to speak that love and for it to always be given to everybody freely, not if you prove that you're not a racist.
I understand. Let me say this to what you're saying. Because of the different ethnicities that make up a community, we need a church that can reach everybody. Sometimes that church becomes a black church. Sometimes it becomes a Hispanic church. Sometimes it becomes a white church. Reverend and I just did some research on a church that's in a revitalization process. And the pathway that they're using, the one that I did the research on, is what they call an adoption. All right? An adoption simply means that this church, this new church, was adopted by a father church or a mother church. And all of their direction, resources, and everything comes from the mother church, all right, in another community. Now, their goal is to try to make the new church look like the community. That's what they want to do, first and foremost. But if you have 55% African Americans, and you have 15% of Hispanics, and you have 5% of Anglos in that community, the majority of that church is going to look what? Like what? African Americans. All right? In this culture, we then tag that church as a black church. But it never set out to do that. Now, it's important to note that the way black folk worship is going to be different than the way Anglos worship. And so the research that I did on this particular church, what they're trying to do, they're trying to come up with a happy medium for everybody in the community. Now, so far, they look like they're on track to make that happen. I went and visited their worship, and I see what they're trying to do, and I was able to see the makeup of their church, and it resembles what the one you did. It resembles the community. The one that I did don't resemble the community. And even though they're almost a year in, it was a white church in the beginning, so you got a lot of Anglos that are still there, which is what they wanted. They didn't want them to leave, but they brought in a black pastor because the community have changed. Okay? But the goal is to maintain the image of the community in the church. Now, this fellow who's leading this particular ministry, he got all the data, he has all the training, and all of that to try to reach the community. When he first came, he was the only black person in the building. All right? This is his story. And after a while, the white males, they rejected him. But because he got so much love in his heart, he kept reaching at them. Now, they've softened their hearts. See, some work got to be put in. Their hearts have been softened. I spoke with some of them, and they began to call him pastor, and they are beginning to follow his vision. So, it can be done, okay? But we have to put the work in. We got to know what it is we are doing, but we got to have the love of Christ in order to have any opportunity whatsoever to reach God's people, because I don't care what color you are. When Christ died, he died for everybody. There ain't none of us more privileged than the other. He died for everybody. So when we go in, I know this church here is known as the black church. Well, the reality is the leader here is so passionate about reaching African Americans that have been at a disadvantage. Well, ain't nothing wrong with that. But they don't keep everybody else out. But you need to know when you walk through the door, it's going to be different than perhaps where you came from if you are of another ethnicity. But you're invited to come. You see? And he's going to serve whoever comes through the door. It's not like the country. You got a president want to serve one group of people. Rich Anglos. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Which is crazy because they're not the majority in this country. And so we need to work at embracing God's people. Whose people? God's people. God's people. See, we think they're our folk, but they belong to the Lord. And so if that shepherd never gets that right, he will never operate the way God wanted him to operate. And he can act like it, and people can act like it all day. Oh, he did exactly what the Lord said. He did a great job. But he's going to have to answer for that. Yeah, dog.
Just real quickly. But that, I think, ties into everything that we've been talking about, including what's seminary, I just got called to the seminary board. I'm the only African American on there. And I said this last week, and I said this in my sermon on Sunday, and I'm saying this now. Those 7,000 people, poor people from Honduras.
Oh my goodness.
When I see those people, I look at those people walking, I said, oh my God. And I mean, my God, they look like the children of Israel.
I know you're right.
Coming up out of an oppressed situation. Now, I know there's a little bit something else going on because it's so organized. I know there's a little bit something else going on. But they don't look like a threat to me. I want to meet those people. I really want to meet those mothers and fathers who will walk 1,000 miles to freedom. Matter of fact, I'm more concerned about meeting them than talking to those knucklehead drug dealers I'm tired of in my own community.
Yeah.
I think that is amazing. Yes. And I think it is embarrassing and offensive that the church has been so silent on this. I think it is complicitous and it's embarrassing.
But we talk about racism, I walked in on the video there, and I had an opportunity to talk with people prior to this past presidential election. I live in a community that's multi-ethnic, but multicultural. But point number one, I'll make two. Point number one is that some people, and I don't know how large the number is, act and live and interact with racism and will tell you that I'm not a racist. I'm not racist. So the first thing is, I think we need to have a declaration. What you are, if you act this way because of this factor, you are racist. Now, there's some people out there with their head in the sand and they're very comfortable because that sand feels good. I live in a neighborhood. Very multicultural. And I got a neighbor that will hang on my fence and tell me he's not a racist. I personally was offended when I heard Grandma McGee on the radio call Black Man a boy. I turned him off from then. But to listen to him prior to that, I would have thought, hey, this is one of the great, enough of that. We need to declare that if you react to people, positive or negative, because of their skin color or their culture, it's a racism involved. Second thing is, and I'm witnessing in the neighborhood that I pastor in, is that demographics are changing. In the neighborhood, I sit on the board that built the school. The school is maxed out now. We've had a great influx of those who have Hispanic art, which means they're not necessarily from Mexico. We call everybody Mexican. That ain't true. So we need some education there. Everybody is Mexican. Right. Some are from Honduras, some are from Nicaragua, Venezuela, whatever. So we need that going on. But we try to speak a language and it's all basic. So we need to deal with that. In our neighborhood, I heard her talk about the black church, and I agree with you. We ain't set out there to be black, but we were born that way, though. There you go. Duh. So in our neighborhood, there's a great increase of those that are Hispanic. And I had to learn, too, that everybody ain't from Mexico City. Some of them from Nicaragua. We got a lot of them from El Salvador, so even their cultures are different. And so we want to address that. We want to minister to them. And I agree with all of what you're saying, because sometimes we minister and we get this touch with them, and then they're gone. But I find out those are the ones who said we wouldn't feed them enough or whatever. And I have a problem too. If the Lord allowed me to come, so you just go where your home is. Whatever you support, that's your home. So just go on over there and support that. And I'm so cool with that. It ain't even funny. So my 2 points are simply this. We got to be educated. We got to realize at the church that demographics are changing. And I had to do some research myself so I could talk to the members of my church. I said, look, y'all do Google, Wikipedia, and there's some other church groups out there doing some phenomenal research. And we need to do ours.
I do agree. I do agree. Any more to that? Yes, sir.
Yeah. One of the things I see today, I'm an immigrant. I came from Cuba 25 years ago in Manitou, across the ocean. And my dream to come into the land of freedom, right? After 25 years living in the United States, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, the Lord bring me to the church. I went to visit a few Hispanic church. My spirit don't feel it. For whatever reason, the Lord bring me here. I learned how to do Bible study. I learned how to apply the Word of God in my life and my family life. What happened today in the nation is what I think Donald Trump got in power, but God wanted to show to us the true evangelist, or the true calling themselves Christian and pastor and ministry. They got not the Word of God in their heart, they got garbage in their heart. How they got the garbage? They wicked, they act wicked, they manipulate people. Yeah. Today, you see pastors and ministers, because they're not there for the soul, they're there for the mind. They quiet, of course, because they don't have a moral value. They can't say nothing. We here, we know, we believe. I want to, for a few minutes, I want to get my wife read this text for me. 1 John, chapter 4, verse 7 through 8 or through 9.
Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Yeah. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, Amen. For God is love. In this, the love of God was manifested toward us, that God has sent His only begotten Son into the world that we might live through Him.
Amen.
We clean here. Because not everybody can call themselves pastor, evangelist, bishop, or reverend. They're not living about this book in here. Agree. We have to believe what is in His Word. It's the only way that we can bring change to the community is if we believe, if we start living, if we start applying in the community. That's something that, I never expected in my life. I expect to come in here in hot freedom. Everybody happy. Everybody happy. I discuss with my pastor all the time about, I don't believe in the Cuban government. There's something good that I think that the Cuban government did to the people. First, eliminate the racism. In Cuba, if you black, you call somebody white, you go to jail. They put you in jail, not with the black folks, no, they're going to put you with a white man. See, you, white man, when you say something about the black person, they're going to put you the same. Another thing that catch me is that health care and the education. These 2-3 good points he did. In here today, we need to figure out how we can take that message to the people. He started living that hate, because if we don't forget, my daddy is Hispanic, my mom is Afro-Cuban. I know what the Spanish, y'all know what the Spanish did to the Cubans. Yeah. Cuba used to be the first trade the slave, first stop. And in this country, because y'all gonna leave, y'all gonna hold that anger against the Spanish. I'm going to hate my dad. Yeah. I'm going to hate. We need to stop the hate on people. He's holding that hate. And we need to start applying love. Because that's what Jesus teaches us. And we want to be a true disciple of Christ. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Our time is up, but hopefully we challenge you to start looking at this thing a little bit different. I think the church is way too quiet. We like to talk about just the biblical things, but this can be solved from a biblical perspective. But we have to be bold, and finally we got to have courage, because hate will challenge you. It will challenge you. It challenges you to be quiet. Y'all hear what I'm saying to you? And as prognosticators, we don't need to be quiet. We need to speak. We're the ones that God is depending on to speak out on the things that he is not pleased with. The children of Israel, when they were led out of Egypt, not only did the Israelites leave, there was some other ethnicity that left with them. So the church is wide open for everybody. You hear what I'm saying? But we cannot deny if only black folk come to this church. There ain't no sense of us, getting off beat saying that's a black church. And even if we did, it's no big deal. So what? The black folk need the church too. Just like Hispanics and Anglos, everybody. So if we can't get everybody in one building, that's not a sin. But we ought to be teaching from the same book. The Word teaches us that love out all the gifts. Love conquers. You can talk about how much evangelism you do and all of that. That's good. But if you ain't teaching folks how to love, you're still not being obedient to your call. And I think in this culture, that's what we're dealing with, especially among Anglo churches. That's what I believe is happening. I'm around my brethren all the time, and I'm having these little side pocket conversations. And I'm always challenging them to think differently and do something differently, because I believe that that's where the change will come. Love conquers all, but we got to get everybody love. All right? Thank y'all so much.
You know,
de San Marcos, de